Hello there and welcome back to Carlton Black Ops Kings vlog for today. Excuse the relatively casual clothing. Basically, I'm just ready to go to the gym. So just before I do that, I'm going to, and by the way, when you're 60 odd years of age, don't stop going to the gym. You still have to go to the gym because you still have to keep fit because it's healthy. I just wanted to put that in because I'm hearing some stuff over various media that's talking about not doing so much when you get older in a sense, but they do say you should do something. I'm just saying you can go at a sensible level all the time. Right, so that's that. Get that out of the way. Right, so what am I going to talk about today? I've been having a very interesting discussion with Peter Kirkham. Great guy. He's the guy who used to be the head of the Met's Police Federation. Now, when you hear that spoken about on television and radio, they always say the rank and file police officers union. It's not. Once again, media get it wrong. It's not rank and file at all. This is the federation because police can't have a union because police can't strike, so they've got a federation. So this federation basically is a body that takes and looks after the officers from constable all the way through to chief inspector, which actually, the way we run our police, is quite a high rank. There are many ranks above that, or quite a few ranks above that, but the reason why it's quite a heavy rank is that something like, and I think, don't quote me 100%, but something like 40 to 50% of officers remain constable throughout their 30 years of service, right? Then there's a sergeant after that, and the sergeant rank is probably attained by about 20 to 30% of officers, and the rest then, so you can see from that, the 80% come into inspectors, chief inspectors, so the 20% left are the ones that make up the rest of the ranks. So actually, when you're saying a chief inspector, that's actually quite a senior rank. An inspector's a senior rank. In fact, they're all relatively senior in comparison to a police constable. And by the way, a constable would be the equivalent of an officer in the army because he's warranted. So that's that. Just got that out of the way very quickly. But he used to be the head of the federation, right? And so I've been having a discussion with Peter about, when I spoke in my last vlog, you might have heard about arming of the police. And I mean routine arming of the police. So that should be that every police officer carries a sidearm. So when I'm saying a sidearm, what I'm saying is it would be an automatic handgun, pistol, whatever you want to name it, that sits on the side of your belt. And in fact, in many countries, you probably don't even see it because it's under the tunic. And in some countries that still don't wear body armour and stuff that we have, or don't have rigid police cuffs, that's cuffs that don't move so you can't hide them that much, or don't have battens, you may think the officer's unarmed, but he's armed, he's just got a sidearm. And I think every officer in our country, Great Britain, and the reason why I'm saying that is because our country is Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which makes up the United Kingdom. Northern Ireland already does this. Every police officer in Northern Ireland carries a sidearm. Every police officer, right? No matter what their role is, they carry a sidearm, right? So I was discussing this with Peter, and Peter was saying, he used one word saying a fuckwit. Or he actually used the word also saying, excuse my language, I don't swear. So he used that word, a fuckwit. And he also said that it was a stupid idea. And he also said it's all about a risk assessment. Well, I put it to Peter that every officer in a part of the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland carries a firearm, where crime, and this is what people need to understand. I'll say it again, where crime is a lot less, and that's including of terrorism, is a lot less than in London. Okay? Officers, take into account that every officer in the PSNI, which is the Police Service of Northern Ireland, used to be the RUC, the Royal Ulster Constabulary, but after the Troubles they renamed it so it could be inclusive and not just have unionists in the force, or what would be perceived of unionists, Protestants in the force, but also Catholics or Republicans, whichever way you want to perceive the language, into the force as well. So they call it the Police Service of Northern Ireland, a neutral terminology. Okay, so every officer in that service carries. And I put it to Peter that the risk assessment for them carrying is dead simple. You are the police, and in the old days, when you used to go to police college, and it was this case from 1829, when the Metropolitan Police was formed, that's London's police, yeah, the first lines of what you had to learn this off by heart, that that basically an efficient police, their role is the prevention and detection of crime. That's it. Everything else bolted on to what the police might do is just bolted on. So the police might be psychologists, they might be medics because they're helping people who have fallen down and had a heart attack or something. Yeah, those are all ancillary to the police role. But the police role is the prevention and detection of crime, which basically means you have a problem, public, you call the police to prevent crime. You call the police to detect crime. You call police to apprehend the criminals, that's prevention of crime again, or the crime's happened, so you're preventing him. You, from getting away, you call police to apprehend that criminal. Now, the problem is, and it has been for a long time, it's not new. So, I've been saying the police should be armed for 30 years, probably because I came from forces where we were armed. So I was working in other countries before. But the point is this. It's not new that basically you're sent there when nobody else wants to go. So you run towards this danger. And many, 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 many criminals are armed with something. Be it a knife, a machete, an axe, a gun, a shotgun. Many are armed. And definitely, if you're going to do a bank hold-up, or you're going to rob a building society, or you're going to, go into a diamond store and rob some jewellery, in a jewellery store. All these places now today have very sophisticated security. So when somebody comes in to do a robbery inside these places, they've got armoured glass, they've got doors that close automatically. In banks, of course, they're behind armoured glass. It doesn't necessarily protect them totally, but they're behind it. So the robber, actually, in order to perform his crime, needs a weapon. Because if you go into a bank and say, give me all your money, but you've got no weapon, the bank cashier just presses his button, the doors come down, his armoured glasses and he laughs at you. So therefore, she who commits a robbery of a bank knows that in order to do that, I need to have a weapon so I can put the gun at somebody's head, be it a replica or not, when you won't know it's a replica, at somebody's head and say, right, give me the money or this geezer dies, or whatever it might be. Okay? The police are called to that. Now, what I said to Peter Kirkham is, if what you're saying is, Peter, police don't need firearms, and if you're saying that the armed response vehicles, and let me make this clear to you, there are armed response vehicles in police forces, which means oftentimes it's a crew of 3 people who have weapons. So they'll have sidearms and they'll have machine guns. Now, I don't think an everyday normal police officer requires a machine gun. An armed response does because it's going to anything, and it's the unit that's called to it. It's a special weapons and tactics unit, if you will, that's going to an incident that it can look at most eventualities. So that needs added amounts of equipment. But the normal everyday patrolling officer walking down your street, he doesn't need a machine pistol. She doesn't need anything like that. What she needs is a sidearm tucked away, nice and easy. So if it comes to it, they've got it. Now, what happens is, when this bank hold-up alarm goes off, and believe me, there are many, you shouldn't be fooled by thinking the only time a bank hold-up alarm goes off is when a bank robbery or a robbery of a post office or a robbery of a jeweller's is going on, or any other high security area going on. No, they go off all the time because sometimes there are a lot of faults. So you turn up, you won't know there's a fault. So the dispatcher who's making the risk assessment, who do I send to this call, says, oh, I'm going to send local beat police officer in his car to this call. So the local beat police officer turns up and it's actually an armed robbery. So what does that local beat police officer do? I tell you what his law, what the law says he should do. When I say the law, I'm talking the regulations of police. It basically says what you should do is take cover, read for that, hide. It says you should report, read for that, get onto your radio. And it says observe, which means hide and keep looking. Right. Now, I'll put it to you, that is not sufficient. So let's say we get away with it in the bank robbery. But when it's a terrorist now who actually goes in to shoot people, or, let's just be truthful, the normal everyday individual who is now running around in gangs and shoots somebody, and you turn up as the police, what are you going to do with this guy who's just shot X amount of gang members and you are now standing next to him? Or just stabbed X amount of gang members. Because remember, all you've got as a police officer is a piece of metal, which is about 18 inches long, which they call an asp now. It's like a truncheon, but the size of the old-fashioned truncheon. Or a bit of pepper spray, yeah, which you can spray and miss or not miss or clout. It might blow in the wind or whatever, and you might get the bliss from the spray, and that spray is going to make you cough as much as him. Or you've got sometimes, very rarely, often strangely, only armed units have it, is they give you a taser. Now the taser has got a certain distance to it. I'm not going to give you the distance, but you've got to hit a person at that distance, and the prongs have got to hit that person, then you can keep hold of it and then it goes down. Now you've only got one use of that taser. You fire it once, done, gone. In terms of you trying to reload it, will be not, you've got to take the whole thing off and put it back on again. It's a problem. So what I'm saying to you is, it's not a tactical weapon to use against somebody who's closing in on you with a knife and you can't get away. Because when that bloke gets up to you with a knife, you may have what they call stab-proof vest. Right. There's no such thing as bulletproof and there's no such thing as stab-proof. Right? Just understand that. Bulletproof is sufficient for a certain amount of time, as is stab-proof. But of course, what happens? These criminals know where your vest is because they can see it. So what they do now is they aim for your neck and slit your throat. Or they stab you in the eye. Or they stab you on the leg to hit an artery so you bleed to death. Because, once you get hit on the artery on the leg, that blood spurts out forever and a day. Right? So they're not fooled to think, oh, you know what I'll do when I'm stabbing this police officer, because now I'm going to stab him in that vest, which I think might be protected by the knife. It won't protect from some knives, but might be protected against my knife. No, if you're at the level where you're going to stab old Bill, because that's what your position is, then, of course, you're going to stab that officer where you're going to injure that officer and effectively kill him. So you just slit their throat. Which, you see, is what happened to the PC in Westminster on the gates of the House of Parliament. So what I'm saying to you is do not be fooled by this idea that, oh, police can defend me, because they can't. Simple reason why they can't, because they can't defend themselves. So a police officer now always has an option of actually saying, I'm not getting involved. Which is, by the way, what the most senior male police officer, the acting commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, did when he saw his colleague, I'll repeat this, his junior colleague, a police constable, he's the acting commissioner, so he's the highest rank in this country other than for the commissioner themselves. Do not get mixed up with the police and crime commissioners. They're something completely different. They're not police. They are civilian people who overlook the police in terms of political aspects. No, this is the commissioner. Anywhere else he'd be called the chief constable, but in London they're known as the commissioner. And they are the most senior police in the United Kingdom. England, Wales, Northern Ireland. It's the most senior, right? This guy. So he's the most senior male police officer. He sees his colleague being stabbed to death, slit up by this guy in Westminster. What does he do? Locks his car and drives off. So you might think, whoa, you should have taken some action there. What about your duty? Well, let me tell you something else. There were 3 other officers on that gate, all unarmed. Those guys withdrew as well. See, they use terms like withdraw, but basically what you're doing is running away. I'm not calling these guys down, because how are you going to defend yourself? And so they were thinking, what do I do? What action do I take? Do I draw this asp I've got, this piece of metal, to try and hit him over the head with? But I tell you what, if I get close to him, he'll probably slit me up, because my mate's got an asp and he's been cut to death. Well, more than that, butchered. Actually, butchered by this guy with knives who knows what he's doing. He's got knives and he knows how to use them, right? So what do I do? So they've taken this tactical movement to withdraw and report while their colleagues being basically butchered. Okay? So what I'm saying to Peter was, this isn't sufficient, Peter. Everybody should be carrying a firearm, because even if the officer himself didn't have time, which by the way he did because he heard the bang, and had he have heard the bang of the car bumping into the wall, by the time the guy run into the House of Parliament, he could have already had his hand on his pistol, on his firearm, wondering what might happen. And then when he saw him coming towards him with knives, then it's a simple job. Shoot him once, make sure he's down. You probably would have saved him. Just shot him once, make sure he's down, and then try and take the knives off him or hold him under gun while other people come. Because everybody's carrying, so everybody would have the opportunity. That would have happened in any other country, not in any other country in the world. So I say this to Peter, and he says, I'm a fuckwit. Why do we want to have arms? It's crazy. Everybody's going around killing people. But it's not the case, is it? Japan, every police officer's armed. By the way, I've worked there. And most of the countries in the world I've worked in. By the way, Japan has every police officer carries. In 2016, I think the figures are right, 6 people were shot in Japan. Not by police, shot in crime. Shot, 6 people. That's it. Every Japanese police officer carries. Last time a Japanese police officer killed somebody, well, years and years and years ago, probably, right? The fact is, the reality is, it's a very benign society. Often, don't get me wrong, there is crime there, but often, one of the lowest crime rates in the world. But every officer carries. Why? In case there's a problem, that officer has a weapon and can assist to deal with it, or at least hold somebody off, right? Our officers can't do that. So, do you want to know the level of our officers being armed? To 96%, officers in the United Kingdom, minus Northern Ireland, so in Great Britain, let's use that terminology, officers in Great Britain, to 96% are unarmed. That's everybody turning up. If 100 cops turn up, 96 of them are not carrying a firearm. So when these terrorists go on marauding actions, killing people, shooting people, stabbing people, as you've seen in London, so that's not that. It's not happened. Yeah, and you call the police. 96 of those turning up are useless. And in fact, the chances of you getting an ARV, and I'll go back to that, which is an armed response vehicle, are very, very slim. In London, a bit better, but in most places, very slim. So in somewhere like Lancashire, example, they used to have, on any one time, 3 armed response vehicles. For the size of Lancashire. Understand this, guys. You're not protected. For the size of Lancashire. So that's basically, if you know the geography, from Bolton, Blackburn, all the way up to Blackpool, Lancaster and beyond. These are things, this is miles upon miles, guys. Understand this. So, this is what I'm saying. So when I speak with people like Peter, who don't want to accept the reality, I think we need to see where we are. And you, as the public, are the one who's lose out on this. Because you are not defended. Okay, guys, that's it. Thank you very much. As I say, as per normal, if you want to subscribe, press the little button below and you won't miss any of our new vlogs as they come out. And see you next time with a different theme.